Hello, everyone. I'm Representative DeCarr, and this is...
Representative DeHart.
And as official lovers of congressional debate, we have a few opinions.
Honestly, I am so tired of the haters claiming that congressional debate is a fake event. I'm a strong believer that Congress is more structured than people think.
And if you've ever been in a finals round where everyone is completely tired out and sick of the event, you'd understand why. Which is why,
On today's episode, we will be breaking down the main types of speeches, because just like you don't put whipped cream on black coffee, you don't use the wrong speech in round.
so get ahead of the crowd with this episode of
Coffee in Congress.
Constructive to Crystals. What are the types of speeches?
So there are many questions that many novices come into the program asking, like, what kind of speeches are there? And the answer to that is a lot. So many that I had no clue existed at the beginning of my congressional career.
Overall, it depends on who you're talking to, but in general, there are 5 main types of speeches. These include authorships and sponsorship speeches, constructive speeches, half-refutation speeches, crystal speeches, and lastly, impact way.
So let's break them down!
We're going to begin today talking about our authorship and sponsorship speeches. Authorships and sponsorships. It's the way every Congress round begins. And for Congress, it's about just as important as your daily morning brew, which is why it's essential that you get it right. The main purpose of an author or sponsorship speech is to begin the debate, establish the main issues, and give arguments that will dictate the flow of the round for the rest of the debate on that piece of legislation. A good sponsor or authorship will have your fellow representatives bringing you up in their speeches for the rest of the round. Even if it's technically an aft speech, the first negation speech essentially operates the same way and has the same impact, so this advice still applies. Essentially, in an authorship or sponsorship speech, you are entirely responsible for constructing the main arguments of your side. Since there will be no clash, you're going first. You will need to ensure your arguments are strong enough to live through the round and stand up to clash. There's almost nothing worse than a bad sponsorship or authorship speech, so if you aren't comfortable with setting that tone, I advise you to not try it. I especially advise you to not try if you aren't comfortable with CX, as there are 4 questioning blocks in these speeches, rather than 2. These speeches can be some of the most powerful that you give in a round, as well as most effective at setting the tone of the round as a whole and ensuring that your name isn't forgotten. It's good to be able to give those kinds of speeches effectively, so I strongly recommend that you try them out.
Secondly, let's tackle constructive speeches. It's a speech that is super early in round, but after the authorship and sponsorships. They are your basic speeches that set up the overarching ideas within the round and are only followed by 2 blocks of 30-second questionings. These kind of speeches are the speeches to set up the basic ideas and tackle more low-hanging fruit arguments, and they must be accompanied with some form of clash, but not as heavy as later in round speeches. These speeches often build off of what speakers in authorship and sponsorship and first negation speeches have said already. Similarly to what Representative DeCarr said regarding sponsors, a good constructive speech could lead to your name being brought up for ages in a round. Know when to give these speeches. Part of the game is the strategy, and you don't want to look silly giving a constructive speech at the end of a round. Overall, a constructive speech further expands on arguments for one side without a ton of refutation.
For the next type of speech, we have the half-refutation. Now, for the half-refutation speech, this is where things really start to get interesting, as you aren't exclusively laying groundwork for your side as you do in the two speech types mentioned above. In a half-ref speech, you're beginning to clash more with the other side, and hopefully take down some of their arguments completely. This is the most common speech type that you'll see in a round, as it is one of the only forms of speeches effective for the majority of it. Essentially, a half-refutation speech is when you spend half of your time establishing a point or reinforcing a point made by your side, and the other half clashing with the opposition, dismantling their arguments or their clash against you. A good half-refutation not only sets your side up for success, but also pushes the other side even further down, ensuring that your side ends up on top. Being able to give good clash ensures that the judge remembers you for taking down some of the most impactful arguments in the round. Being able to give a good half-refutation is one of the most impactful things you can be good at, so it is strongly recommended that you give these kinds of speeches in practice.
And on to my favorite kind of speech. Not really, I am lying to you. Crystal speeches. So we've seen a lot of good speeches so far, but allow me to crystallize this episode and show you why exactly crystal speeches are simply the best. Crystals, a full refutation speech, are basically just summarizing and refuting what's going on in the round thus far. And really, there should only be one crystal speech per side. The main rules of crystal is refute, and finally, refute. When you are delivering this kind of speech, the main objective is to present and dismantle the main arguments from the other side and grab the main areas of contention floating around the round and consolidate them into 3 points, thus the term crystal. Through this and polishing the areas of contention to favor your side, you really want to explain to the judge and competitors why your side is winning and how arguments from your side are right, and why this alone is enough to sway their votes to your side. At this point, you should not be bringing up any brand new shiny arguments. That's a big no-no because the flow of the round has already been set. Crystals can really get a judge's attention because it's a different structure of speech that has been seen for the past hour or so. We all know how long Congress rounds can be. You have the ability to set yourself apart from the rest of the room and capture the attention of a wayward judge who was simply not paying attention. The structure of this kind of speech is different for everyone, but you should be really careful about giving these kinds of speeches in rounds. Just like how a good crystal can set you apart, a bad one can set you back. Crystals don't just repeat what has been said in the round. It's all about strategically framing the round in a way that fits the narrative of your side.
And last, but certainly not least, an impact way. An impact way speech is like a crystal, but cool.
Rude.
Jokes aside, you're going beyond summarization here. An impact way speech is meant to take the arguments of both sides, weigh their impact, or the effect they had on the round, and decide which side had the heavier impact. The goal of this kind of speech should be to convince your audience that the arguments on your side are more impactful than the opposing side. If you can convince people of this fact, then you're basically guaranteed the win. An impact way is similar to a crystal in that you are summarizing your side, but different in the fact that you are clashing more with your opponents and proving why your arguments have a heavier impact than theirs. In a crystal, you are likely only bringing up your side's points and a little bit of the opponent's sides. In an impact way, you're bringing up the pressing points of the round as a whole and proving why your side wins. Also similar to a crystal, you are no longer introducing new arguments, so please don't try to do so. There should only be one impact way on each side, if there even is one. Make sure you're flowing your round and staying organized if you want to give an effective impact way that'll make sure the judges remember your name and give you the one.
Quick point on flowing real quick. Maybe not the most, but one of the most important things you should take away from this episode is that if you're not flowing, you're not winning. That is because when you flow, it's important for any kind of speech. It allows you to keep track of what's going on and around and how you could possibly work it to your advantage. Congressional debate is all about strategy, and this can be seen with any kind of speech we've brought up today. Every kind of speech has a different purpose and serves that in said round. Understanding all of them allows for these valuable tools to be added to your arsenal. Remember the 3 S's: structure, style, and strategy. That's what makes a good congressional debate person.
And that's about it for this week's episode of
Coffee in Congress.
Let us know what you want to see next from us.
You can find us on Instagram at coffee_and_congress and on Spotify at Coffee and Congress.
Sorry for false promises of weekly episodes. I promise you, we're working on it.
Coffee in Congress, where we espresso our opinion.
I'm flowing it.
Those who flow?
Those who flow.
Coffee in Congress Coffee in Congress for once in the history of this podcast was written by both Representative DeHart and Representative DeCarr. It was edited by me, produced by me, and co-hosted by Representative DeCarr and me.